So hijackers.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what is a hijacker?
So a hijacker is another seller that is on your listing together with you, that is pretending to sell the same product, but is not selling the same product. So, for example, you're a private label, you're selling phone covers, or you're selling, I don't know, a pen, a special pen that you designed with your brand, Shira, and then somebody comes in on the same listing and offers the same product. In most cases, that's not the same product. This seller is selling another
How would you
product.
know that's not the same product?
Because you're a private label and you never allowed anybody else to sell your product. So either that seller has bought it from you and then resold it, which doesn't make so much sense because they buy it at your price. And then if they want to get the buy box, they would sell it at a lower price. So it doesn't really make sense that they buy it from you unless you sell your product on other platforms, or you sometimes give discounts, rebates, and things like that. Then it may be someone who actually bought your product. But in most cases, it's not your product. It's somebody who sells a similar product, but without your brand, a kind of knockoff.
Okay, so I'm a seller. I sell my private label. It's a pen under Shira. Get it in your next Amazon purchase. And I have this hijacker, which is a seller that I don't recognize, and I don't think that there's a chance that they bought it from me. What do I do?
You fight them. You fight the hijackers. So Amazon allows you to file a complaint. It's free. You can do it yourself. And you have two ways to do it. One through the brand registry, and the other way is through Amazon's website. If you type on Google file complaint trademark infringement, you would get to that form as well. But most sellers do it through the brand registry. The brand registry is a system that Amazon invented to protect brands on Amazon. To get into the brand registry, you need a registered trademark. You actually need a trademark that you even filed, and then you would get Amazon's brand registry. So
Do you need to have your trademark registered?
No, actually, Amazon allows you to get into the brand registry once you file the trademark. But if you want to enforce it, if you want to remove a hijacker, you need to have that trademark completely registered, which takes time.
What happens if I try to enforce it and it's just an application?
So usually they'll
just deny it?
Yeah, they would deny it. Sometimes they allow it, although they shouldn't, because who knows if your trademark is ever going to be registered. But in most cases, Amazon denies it, so you shouldn't try to enforce it.
Can you give me an interesting story where there were repercussions of removing a hijacker?
Yeah. So when you're thinking about enforcing, if you came to me and asked me, should I remove that hijacker? Should I file complaints against that person and that person that, I don't know, infringes my trademark or infringes other IP rights? I would generally ask you, does that hurt your sales? And who's the sellers? Who's the seller who sells that product? The big problem is that sometimes when you remove other sellers, they start removing you. So we have, for example, one of our clients. She's a long-time client at the firm, probably 7-8 years. She filed a complaint against a hijacker, and then she received a message saying something like, "You hurt me, now I hurt you."
Scary.
Yes. And then the next day, I think 16 or 17 of her listings were removed at once. And when she looked at the complaint, it was really odd because it said that Amazon said something like, "We removed your listing because that person complained," and then there was the email of the person complaining. That was that seller. And then the trademark on which they based the complaint was her trademark. So it said, Amazon
That brings me back to my previous question, if Amazon even checks.
So on the infringement, on the enforcement, unfortunately, they don't really check. So if that person says, I'm the trademark owner, here's the trademark, here's the number, they just compare. It's like, okay, that's the same trademark. And then they remove you. So we wrote a letter saying, hey, well, we can remove Nike, right? I mean, we can show Nike's trademark and claim to be Nike. So Amazon, of course...
you got to prove that you are who you are.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Only, when they remove you, you have to prove it. They didn't have the complainant didn't have to prove anything. Just showing, just declaring, I am the trademark owner, and I'm removing that person that infringes.
It's trademark. A shame that Amazon doesn't share what they do or what discipline rulings they decide to do against a seller that's so abusive. Because I would feel safer knowing that Amazon would tell me in reply, thank you for bringing this to my attention. This seller has been removed from the platform.
Oh yeah, they didn't remove that seller, unfortunately.
No,
not in that case.
Amazing.
But not immediately, maybe later. But at least she was reinstated. So that's why I'm always saying, although it's very tempting to remove someone who, I don't know, uses your photo. Very, very easy to remove someone who removes your photo. You just file a copyright complaint. You show your picture, you show your listing versus their listing, and
I don't need to have a registered copyright.
No. You just show the listing, you show yours, you show that you were before, and that's it. Amazon just takes your word for it. So when sellers think about enforcing, I always ask, is it really worth it? And, and kind of do a kind of investigation on that seller. Make sure that this is not a seller that will come back to you and kind of has nothing to lose.
Okay. So I'm a private label. I see a hijacker who I could assume is a hijacker because I don't recognize them. Does Amazon want any proof that it's not the actual item?
No. So that's what we call a test buy. Amazon actually recommends that you do a test purchase. So you acquire that, you actually buy the product and make sure that that's not your product. That's not the genuine product. That's kind of counterfeit. So when you do that, that's of course better. The problem is that very often a hijacker is an FBM seller. So by the time you'll get it, like 3 weeks will pass and you'll lose a lot of money. So you can file it without a test buy.
It used to be that Amazon required it.
Yes, at some period at the beginning they didn't, and then they did, and now they just recommend.
I would think as a brand owner, it would be an outrage for me that every time I want to remove or enforce my rights and point out Amazon's, I would say, negligence for allowing someone that's an imposter to go on my listing, I have to spend money and do a test buy, wait a period of time just to prove that culprit is guilty.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason Amazon stopped.
But I was actually looking for the policy that says that you must have a test buy because that's what they used to say. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
The only thing you can find now is we encourage you to have a test buy, which actually makes more sense.
Yeah. Those hijackers can be very difficult. When I remember in 2-3 years back, one of our clients had a hijacker on Black Friday. That's something that we now see every year. But I remember myself like filing those complaints and then comes back and then
you got to catch them right at the right time, right at that moment.
Yes, they often come when you sleep.
Right. I remember staying up at night and like clicking, waiting for the hijacker to come up so I can take them.
Like whack-a-mole, right?
Exactly.
You remove them and then they come back. So it can be very difficult and can really, really impact your sales. So a hijacker is usually removed.
What would I do if I don't have a trademark? And I don't have brand registry, but someone is obviously trying to rip off my success.
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do?
against a hijacker on your listing without trademark, very, very difficult. Very difficult. You can, sometimes if you if someone buys your product and shows that it's not the same product that they ordered, they can file a complaint not as described. You can file it yourself, not as described complaint, as like as a customer, as someone who bought it. But other than that, there's not much you can do. You can write a letter, like a message to the infringer saying, I have common law rights. I've been selling for some times, and maybe a cease and desist letter to that hijacker, and explaining that you own.
I guess
rights.
it depends on the territory too. Cease and desist letter
for
won't
the US.
Scare a seller from China.
Yes, not necessarily.
There's no.
Not necessarily.
Really repercussions.
Yes.
Okay. What's the difference between trademark infringement and what you mentioned a few times throughout the conversation, counterfeit? What's counterfeit?
Yeah, so counterfeit. So if you're Nike and I'm selling on your listing a shoe that actually bears a Nike logo, and I pretend that I am actually the same product, that is counterfeit. So I'm kind of misleading the customer to believe that this is the same product. So they would buy it thinking it's a Nike, and then maybe they won't even realize that it's not the Nike, it's a fake shoe. So fake is counterfeit, basically. When we're talking about hijackers, usually they sell the product without the brand in most cases. So you have your brand on Shira on your pens. They would sell a pen without the brand Shira, but they're using your trademark on the listing. So they're kind of riding on your success. So that would be trademark infringement and not counterfeit. Okay, so that's kind of the difference between the two. Amazon doesn't always differentiate between the two, and some would claim that selling a pen on your listing, pretending to be Shira, would be counterfeit. But this is how I separate the two.
All right. Well, now I know everything I need to know about hijackers.